Jack Russell sat alone in the grand chamber of the Galactic Council, his face calm despite the loud voices around him. The huge room had tall pillars that reached up toward a glass ceiling showing the stars above. 200 alien representatives from across the galaxy sat in curved rows arguing about Earth again. Jack had served as Earth's ambassador for 7 years. He was tired of the same old story. The aliens talked about humans like they were children who needed guidance. Jack smoothed his gray suit and waited for his turn to speak. The center of the room stood Zexiver, the council speaker. The tall insect-like alien had 4 arms and compound eyes that shifted colors with his mood. Right now they glowed orange with frustration. The council has reviewed Earth's request for mining rights in the Orion Arm, Zexiver said, his voice clicking through the translator. We have decided to deny this request. Humans lack the experience to handle such operations safely. Jack made a small note on his tablet, another denial. In the last 5 years, the Council had rejected 15 separate requests from Earth while approving similar ones from other species. Across from Jack sat Kral, the Veldari ambassador. The Veldari were one of the oldest species in the galaxy, with blue-scaled skin and eyes that never seemed to blink. They had helped form the Council 10,000 years ago and still controlled most of its decisions. Furthermore, Zexiver continued, the Council has decided to place new limits on human colony ships. No more than 2 new settlements per Earth decade will be permitted. Jack looked up from his notes. This was new, and it crossed the line. Earth's population was growing. They needed those colonies. Kral's mouth turned up in what passed for a Veldari smile. He knew exactly what this meant for Earth. Jack pressed the button requesting to speak. A soft light appeared above his chair. The Council recognizes Ambassador Russell of Earth, Zexiver said. Jack stood slowly. The room went quiet. He was not known for making speeches. Thank you, Speaker Zexiver, Jack said. His voice was calm but carried through the large chamber. I have been instructed to deliver a message from Earth's United Government. He pulled a small data card from his pocket and placed it on the reader in front of him. A hologram appeared, showing the official seal of Earth. For 50 years, Earth has been a member of this council, Jack began. In that time, we have followed your rules. We have paid your taxes. We have restricted our growth based on your guidelines. We have shared our resources. The aliens watched silently. Human speeches were usually short and agreeable. In return, we have received limited technology, restricted trade deals, and constant reminders of our junior status. Jack looked directly at Kral. This arrangement no longer works for Earth, murmurs spread through the chamber. A small reptilian alien in the back row leaned forward to listen better. Earth demands equal representation on all council committees, Jack continued. We demand fair trade practices. We demand the same colony rights granted to the Veldari and the Morax. Kral laughed, a harsh sound like stones falling. Several other aliens joined him. And if these demands are not met? Kral asked, still smiling. Jack didn't hesitate. Earth will cut all ties with the Galactic Council. The laughter stopped. The chamber went completely silent. Zexiver's eyes shifted to deep purple. Ambassador Russell, surely you understand that Earth needs the Council more than the Council needs Earth. You misunderstand, Jack said calmly. We're not negotiating. He sat down. Chaos erupted in the chamber. Far away, in a hidden facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, Admiral Susan Miller walked along a row of ships that shouldn't exist. Earth had signed treaties limiting its military vessels to short-range defensive craft. These ships were something else entirely. Susan stopped beside the largest vessel. Its hull was black and smooth, absorbing light rather than reflecting it. The name Ed's Defiance was painted in small white letters near the front. How long until they're ready? She asked. A man in a white lab coat checked his tablet. The Defiance can launch now. The rest of the fleet needs another 48 hours. Susan nodded. Good, keep working. She walked to a large window overlooking the main lab. Below, hundreds of scientists and engineers worked around a glowing blue sphere. The sphere pulsed with energy that made the air around it waver. The door opened behind her. Susan turned to see Lover Wright enter the room. Lavra was young for her position as lead scientist, only 32, but her work on energy fields had revolutionized Earth's defense systems. "Admiral," Lavara said, "Project Firewall is ready for testing." Susan smiled. Perfect timing. "The Council just denied our mining rights and colony expansion." "So Jack is delivering the message now?" "Yes, and the Council will reject our demands, as expected." Lavra walked to the window and looked down at her creation. "They have no idea what we've built, do they?" "No," Susan said. "The Veldari think their spy network knows everything about Earth's capabilities. They've been fed false information for years." Lavra took a deep breath. "Once we activate Firewall, there's no going back. The entire solar system will be cut off." Susan looked at the scientist. "Are you having doubts?" "No," Lavra said firmly. "The Council has held us back for too long. They take our resources and give us scraps in return. It's time we see what humans can do on our own." Susan's secure phone buzzed. She answered it and listened briefly. "It's happening," she told Lavra after hanging up. The Council laughed at Jack's demands. "We have 24 hours before he delivers our final response," Lavra nodded. "I'll prepare the firewall for full activation." In orbit around Earth, the alien embassies received strange messages. All off-world personnel were being asked to leave within 24 hours. No explanation was given. On the Veldari embassy ship, Ambassador Kral received a direct call from his government. "What is happening?" the Veldari Prime demanded. "Why are humans asking us to leave?" Kral made a dismissive gesture. "They're upset about the Council's decision. It's a childish display. They'll calm down when they realize they can't survive without us." "Are you certain?" Completely," Kral said confidently. "Humans are dependent on Council technology. Their economy would collapse without our trade networks. Their colonies would wither without our supply ships." "And yet," the Prime said slowly, "our intelligence suggests they've been reducing their imports from Council worlds by 30% each year." Kral blinked. This was news to him. "Watch them closely," the Prime ordered. "If they truly intend to separate from the Council, we must secure our assets on their world before they act." "Yes, Prime," Kral said, ending the call. He looked out the viewport at the blue planet below. What were the humans planning? Whatever it was, it couldn't possibly threaten the Galactic Council. The Council had existed for 10,000 years. It would not be shaken by one young species having a tantrum back in the Council chamber. Jack Russell listened as the aliens debated Earth's demands. Most found them amusing. Some were offended. None took them seriously. Finally, Zeksaver called for order. "The Council has considered Earth's demands," the speaker announced. "They are rejected. The current arrangements will continue." Jack stood. "Then we have nothing more to discuss." He walked out of the chamber, leaving stunned silence behind him. 24 hours later, he sat in his office on Earth, watching on screens as the last alien ships departed. 122 vessels of various sizes and shapes, carrying diplomats, merchants, and spies from 30 different species. Jack's assistant brought him a secure phone. "Admiral Miller is ready," she said. Jack took the phone. "Are we clear?" "The last ship just passed Neptune's orbit," Susan confirmed. "And our people off-world?" All recalled. "We had 12,000 humans on alien worlds. All but 8 are now home. Those 8 chose to stay, knowing they'll be cut off." Jack took a deep breath. "Then it's time. Activate Project Firewall." Beneath the Rocky Mountains, Lavra Wright entered the final command sequence. The blue sphere. In the main lab pulsed once, twice, then emitted a wave of energy that spread outward, invisible but powerful. In space, the wave expanded at impossible speed, encompassing the entire solar system in seconds. Then, to any observer outside, the solar system simply vanished. Earth had cut ties with the Galactic Council. The universe was about to panic. 3 days passed since Earth vanished from the galaxy's sensors. On the Galactic Council homeworld of Xandar Prime, emergency meetings ran day and night. The Grand Chamber that normally hosted formal sessions once per month now held frightened representatives who barely left their seats. "This is impossible," said a tall, thin alien with purple skin. "An entire solar system cannot simply disappear. Zexever, the council speaker, stood at the center of the room. His compound eyes had been solid red for days, a sign of extreme stress among his species. And yet it has, he replied. Every probe we send past Neptune's former orbit fails to return. All communication attempts go unanswered. The jump gates to Sol System no longer connect to anything. In the front row, Kral of the Veldari sat quietly. Unlike the others, he did not seem surprised, merely annoyed. The humans must have been planning this for years, he said finally. They have created some kind of barrier around their system. Is that even possible? Asked a small, furry representative from the outer rim. Apparently so, Kral said dryly. A different alien stood up. This one had 6 tentacles and skin that rippled with light patterns. The real question is how long they can survive in isolation. My analysis suggests their economy will collapse within weeks without council trade, Kral nodded. Precisely. This tantrum will end soon enough. When humans come crawling back, we will ensure they understand their proper place in the galactic order. But as the aliens talked, warning signs already appeared across the galaxy. On the mining world of Drex-4, 3 large processing plants shut down. They had specialized in refining rare earth elements from human worlds. With the supply suddenly cut off, thousands of workers were sent home. On Xander Prime, the first food shortages appeared in markets across the capital city. Earth had been the galaxy's largest exporter of water and organic goods. The Council had never admitted how dependent they had become on these imports. Inside the barrier that now surrounded Earth's solar system, things were different. Lava Wright stood in the control room of Project Firewall, watching data flow across multiple screens. The blue energy sphere that powered the barrier pulsed steadily. Any attempts to break through? Asked Admiral Susan Miller, who had just entered the room. Lavra shook her head. 7 so far. Mostly probes, though we detected a larger vessel yesterday. The barrier redirects anything that touches it into a pocket dimension. They don't even know what happens to their ships. Susan looked impressed. And our side? Any problems maintaining the field? None, Lavra said proudly. We can keep this up indefinitely. The power requirements are actually decreasing as the system optimizes itself. Susan nodded and looked at the main screen showing Earth below. How are people handling it? Better than expected, Lavra said. There was some panic at first, but President Allen's speech helped. People understand this is necessary. The 2 women watched as the view on the screen shifted to show one of Earth's major cities. Streets were full, shops were open, life continued. What about our resource situation? Lavra asked. That's why I'm here, Susan replied. Dr. William Grant needs to see you. His team has made a breakthrough. Across the solar system, in a research facility orbiting Jupiter, Dr. William Grant waited impatiently in his lab. The large window beside him showed Jupiter's swirling clouds, a view that normally calmed him. Today he was too excited to appreciate it. The door slid open and Lavra Wright entered, followed by Admiral Miller. You found something? Lavra asked without preamble. William grinned. He was older than both women, with gray hair and a lined face. But right now he looked like an excited child. Nancy did, he said, pointing to his assistant who stood by. A complex machine in the corner. Nancy Rodriguez, the newest member of our team and possibly the person who just saved humanity's future. Nancy looked embarrassed by the praise. She was young, just 28, and had joined the science division only last year. I was looking at the alien fuel sources we've been importing, she explained. The Veldari told us their crystals were the only efficient way to power our larger ships. But they lied. She pressed a button, and the machine beside her hummed to life. A small dark sphere formed inside a glass chamber, seeming to absorb the light around it. This is dark energy. Compressed and stabilized, Nancy said. It produces 10 times the power of Veldari crystals, with 0 waste. Admiral Miller stared at the sphere. You're saying we can produce our own fuel now? Better than what we were buying? Much better, William confirmed. And the materials we need are abundant in our system. Jupiter's atmosphere alone could power Earth for centuries, Lavara looked thoughtful. How quickly can we scale up production? That's the best part, Nancy said. The process is simple once you know the method. Every major factory on Earth could be converted within months. For the first time since the barrier went up, Susan Miller smiled fully. This changes everything. Outside Earth's barrier, the situation grew worse by the day. On the mining world, of Drexfor, workers who had lost their jobs began to riot. The local governor called for council assistance, but none came. The council was too busy dealing with problems on hundreds of worlds in the luxury towers of Xander Prime. Even the wealthy began to feel the pinch. Restaurants closed for lack of ingredients. Entertainment venues shut down to conserve power. The market for luxury goods collapsed as resources were diverted to essentials 1 month after Earth's disappearance. Kral sat alone in his private chamber. A report on his desk showed the extent of the damage to the Veldari economy. 3 major trading houses had already collapsed. A worker rebellion had broken out on their primary manufacturing world. His secure communication device chimed. The Veldari Prime appeared on screen, looking grim. How long until the humans return? The Prime asked without greeting. Kral hesitated. The situation is complex. How long? The Prime interrupted. I no longer believe they will return on their own, Kral admitted. The isolation seems to be deliberate and well planned. The Prime's eyes narrowed. Then we must force them to return. Prepare our battle fleet. Kral bowed his head in acknowledgement. But doubt clouded his mind. The humans had surprised them once. What other surprises might they have waiting? 2 months after the barrier went up, Earth held its first full government assembly. Representatives from every nation met in the Great Hall in Geneva to discuss the new reality. President Allen stood at the podium, looking out at the gathered leaders. Today marks 60 days of independence from the Galactic Council, he said. Thanks to the hard work of our scientists and the patience of our citizens, we have not merely survived, we have begun to thrive. Screens around the hall showed data on the new economy. Production was up. Energy concerns had been solved by Nancy Rodriguez's discovery. The colony ships previously restricted by council rules were now being built in orbit. For 50 years, we were told we needed the galaxy, the president continued. We were told we were too young, too inexperienced to make our own way. Today, we prove that humanity needs no one's permission to reach for the stars. The hall erupted in applause. In her seat, Lavra Wright found herself blinking back tears. Beside her, Admiral Miller sat tall and proud, outside the hall, ordinary. Citizens watched the speech on screens in homes and public squares. After decades of being told they were the least advanced species in the council, humans were discovering what they could accomplish on their own, and beyond the barrier, the galaxy was beginning to panic. 1 year had passed since Earth vanished behind its barrier. The galaxy outside was no longer the orderly place it had once been. On the planet Rylos, 3 alien species fought over a former human trading post. What had started as a simple dispute over ownership had turned into a bloody war that spread across 2 star systems. In the council chamber on Xander Prime, barely 50 representatives remained where once there had been 200. Many had simply stopped coming as their governments focused on internal problems. Others had openly declared independence from council rule. Kral of the Veldari stood at the speaker's platform. His once shiny blue scales had dulled, and his ceremonial robes looked worn. The rebel forces have taken control of the Vega system, he announced. The mining operations there are now under the control of the Trill Confederation. Murmurs spread through the chamber. The Trill had been among the smallest council members, always pushed around by the larger powers. Now they were carving out their own territory. What is being done about this? Asked a representative from the back row. Kral's expression hardened. Nothing can be done. Our fleet is stretched too thin dealing with rebellions in our own systems. No one mentioned the real problem. For 10,000 years, the Veldari had maintained their power through superior technology and resources. Much of that technology had been improved by human innovation over the last 50 years. Without new human ideas to build on, Veldari weapons and ships were falling behind those of their rivals. Meanwhile, inside Earth's protective barrier, life was better than ever. Karen Ellis walked through her factory in Detroit, watching as workers assembled the newest generation of engines. Just 2 years ago, she had been an unknown engineer working on minor improvements to existing designs. Now she led the team that had changed space travel forever. The Ellis Drive, as people called it, was the first faster-than-light system not based on alien technology. It was smaller, more efficient, and twice as fast as the best Council ships. Karen still felt amazed when she saw it being built. "Miss Ellis," called a voice behind her. "The test results are in." Karen turned to see her chief technician holding a tablet. She took it and scrolled through the data, a smile spreading across her face. 10% more efficient than the last model, she said. "The president will be pleased." The technician nodded. "General Moore is waiting to speak with you about installing the new drives on the observation fleet." Karen checked her watch. "I'll call him right away." In a hidden base on Pluto, General Henry Moore watched as his teams prepared for their mission. 20 ships with the new Ellis drives were ready to slip past the barrier and set up observation posts throughout the galaxy. They would be Earth's eyes and ears, gathering intelligence without being detected. "Sir," said his communications officer, "we have an incoming call from Karen Ellis." Henry nodded. "Put her through." A screen lit up showing Karen's face. "The new drives are ready?" "Better than ready," Karen replied. "They're 10% more efficient than expected. Your ships will be able to go farther and stay out longer." "Excellent," Henry said. "We launch in 3 days. The president wants to know what's happening out there." After the call ended, Henry looked at the large map showing the known galaxy. Small red dots marked systems where, according to their last intelligence, conflicts had broken out. There were dozens of them now. "Sir," said his second-in-command, "the scout ship Pathfinder is ready for your inspection." Henry followed him to a viewing area overlooking a massive hangar. Below sat a sleek black ship that seemed to absorb the light around it. It was smaller than the alien vessels Henry had seen during his time as a liaison to the Council, but he knew it was far more advanced. "Beautiful, isn't she?" said a voice beside him. Lava Wright had entered the room quietly. Her work on Project Firewall had made her famous, but she still preferred to avoid attention when possible. "She is," Henry agreed. "Will the cloaking technology work as well as we hope?" Lava nodded. "Better. The ship doesn't just hide from sensors. It redirects the very light around it. Unless someone physically bumps into it, they'll never know it's there," Henry smiled. "Then we'll finally learn what's been happening out there." 3 days later, the Pathfinder and 19 other ships slipped through a temporary opening in the barrier. They spread out across the galaxy, each headed to different regions with orders to observe and report back on the Veldari homeworld. Things were falling apart. Once gleaming cities now suffered from power outages and food shortages. In the capital's central plaza, crowds gathered daily to protest the government's failure. Kral hurried through a back entrance to the High Council building, flanked by guards. Inside, the Veldari Prime waited with the remaining loyal members of the government. "The situation worsens," the Prime said without greeting. 3 more colony worlds have declared independence. Our economy cannot sustain this much longer." Kral took a seat at the table. "What of the battle fleet? Have they made any progress breaking through Earth's barrier?" A military commander stood up. "We lost contact with the entire fleet 3 days ago. They approached the barrier where Sol System should be, and then nothing. All 40 ships gone." Silence fell over the room. 40 ships represented nearly a third of the remaining Veldari military power. "We cannot continue like this," the Prime said finally. "Our people are starving while we chase a vendetta against humans." "What do you suggest?" Kral asked, his voice tight. "We must admit our mistake and seek new terms with Earth." Kral slammed his fist on the table. "Impossible. The Veldari do not beg." "Then the Veldari will die," the Prime said simply, unknown to them in a corner of the room. The air seemed to bend slightly. The Pathfinder scout team, using Lava Wright's cloaking technology, recorded everything. Back on Earth in the underground base where Project Firewall had begun, Jack Russell reviewed the reports coming in from the observation ships. The news was even more dramatic than they had expected. The Galactic Council was crumbling. Minor species were breaking away. Trade routes had collapsed. Even the mighty Valdari faced internal rebellion. "It's chaos out there," Jack said to President Allen, who sat across from him. "The power structure that stood for 10,000 years fell apart in just 1 year without us." The president looked thoughtful. "They depended on us more than they knew. Human creativity, human resources, human labor. They built their economy on our backs while pretending we were the primitive ones. Some of the smaller species are doing better," Jack noted. "The Ardarians have established a fair trading network with 3 other races. They always treated us with respect. Have they tried to contact us?" Jack nodded. "Constantly. They send signals toward our barrier every day." The president stood and walked to a window overlooking the control room, where Lavra Wright and her team monitored the barrier. "Perhaps it's time we listen to what they have to say." Before Jack could respond, an alarm sounded. Laura's voice came over the speaker system. "We have multiple ships approaching the barrier. Valdari battle fleet configuration." The president and Jack rushed to the control room. On the main screen, they could see the alien ships moving toward where the barrier stood invisible. "They can't break through," Lover assured them. "But this is the largest force they've sent yet." Everyone watched as the ships reached the barrier. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, one by one, they simply vanished. Where did they go? The president asked. Lavra checked her readings. The barrier redirected them to an empty region of space near the galactic rim. "They're unharmed, but it will take them years to get back at sublight speeds." Jack shook his head. "They still don't understand. They think they can force us to return." "They'll learn," the president said. "Meanwhile, I want to know more about these Ardarians and their allies. If we ever decide to rejoin the galaxy, it will be on our terms, with partners who respect us." Jack nodded. "I'll have the observation ships gather more information." As they spoke, human colony ships were already heading to new worlds within the solar system. Mars had 3 thriving cities now. Europa's underwater settlement grew larger every month. Humanity was expanding faster than ever before, free from the Council's restrictions. And somewhere in deep space, the Valdari battle fleet drifted, lost and confused, a symbol of the old order that no longer worked in a galaxy where humans had decided to go their own way. 3 years had passed since Earth sealed itself behind the firewall barrier. The once mighty Galactic Council chamber on Xander Prime now sat half-empty during its rare meetings. The grand ceiling that had shown the stars in real time was dark. The power diverted to more essential systems. In the streets outside, aliens from dozens of worlds argued over dwindling supplies. What had once been the galaxy's most advanced city now struggled with daily power outages and food shortages. Council peacekeepers tried to maintain order, but their numbers grew smaller each month as member worlds called their people home. On the small world of Ardaria, things were different. The Ardarians, a tall, slender species with 6 fingers on each hand and skin that changed color with their emotions, had always been among the more philosophical council members. They had treated humans as equals from the beginning, seeing potential where others saw only primitivs. Now their leader, Thela, stood before a gathering of representatives from 4 other species. Their alliance, formed after Earth's disappearance, had grown stronger as the Council weakened. "Our latest attempts to contact Earth have gone unanswered," Thyla said, her skin a thoughtful blue. "But we must continue trying. Not for our economic survival, but because dialogue is always better than silence." One of the other representatives, a short furry being named Kraz, raised a paw. "The Valdari lost another battle fleet trying to breach their barrier last month. Perhaps the humans simply do not wish to speak with any of us." Thiela's skin shifted to a gentle green. "The humans have every reason to distrust aliens after how they were treated. But they were always a curious species, open to new ideas. I believe they are watching and waiting to see who is worthy of their trust." She had no idea how right she was. In a corner of the chamber, invisible thanks to Lavra Wright's cloaking technology, two human observers recorded everything. They would take this information back to Earth, where Jack Russell, now Earth's Director of Extraterrestrial Relations, would study it carefully. Back on Earth, President Diana Coleman faced a divided public. In the 3 years since isolation began, humanity had flourished. New cities rose on Mars and Venus, the moons of Jupiter, hosted mining operations that provided more resources than Earth had ever received from trade with the Council. Karen Ellis's faster-than-light drive had been improved twice more, making human ships the fastest ever known. But the question remained, should Earth stay isolated forever? In the Grand Hall of Geneva, representatives from Earth's nations debated this question. President Coleman listened as speakers argued both sides. "Our isolation has brought us unprecedented prosperity," said one speaker. "Why risk that by re-engaging with aliens who looked down on us for so long?" Another rose in opposition. "We have proven our worth. Now we should take our rightful place in galactic affairs as equals or even leaders." The debate continued for hours. President Coleman watched silently, saving her opinion for the end. In his office nearby, Jack Russell reviewed the latest reports from the observation ships. The Ardarian alliance interested him most. Unlike the Veldari and their allies, these species had created a cooperative network based on mutual respect rather than power and control. His assistant, Paul Martinez, entered with a secure tablet. "Director Russell, the intelligence report from Chief Peterson has arrived." Jack took the tablet and scrolled through its contents. Frank Peterson, Earth's Chief of Intelligence, had compiled evidence that the remnants of the Council were developing new weapons specifically designed to penetrate the firewall. "Will they succeed?" Jack asked, but Paul shook his head. "Dr. Wright says no, the barrier adapts to any attempt to breach it. But the fact they keep trying concerns her." Jack set the tablet down. "They're desperate. The old power structure is collapsing, and they don't know how to exist in a galaxy where they aren't in control." Later that day, Jack joined President Coleman as she prepared to address the Global Assembly. The debate had ended without resolution, and now everyone waited to hear her thoughts. "Earth has proven it can stand alone," the President said when she took the podium. "But that was never the true purpose of our isolation. We didn't cut ourselves off because we rejected the idea of galactic community. We did it because the community offered to us was not a true community at all." The hall was silent as she continued. "Now we see others who might share our vision. The Ardarians and their allies have created something new, something that might be worth exploring. I propose a limited contact, a single meeting to test the waters." Murmurs spread through the crowd. After 3 years of complete isolation, even this small step felt momentous. Director Russell will lead a delegation to meet with Ardarian representatives at a neutral location. The President announced, "This is not a return to the Council. This is not surrender. This is humanity deciding, from a position of strength, to see what the galaxy has learned in our absence." 2 weeks later, Jack Russell stood on the bridge of Earth's newest flagship, the EDS Independence. Unlike the old human ships that had copied alien designs, the Independence was uniquely Earth-made. Its smooth lines and dark hull reflected human aesthetics, not Council standards. Admiral Susan Miller, now commander of Earth's growing fleet, stood beside him. "The Ellis drives are ready? We can reach the meeting point in 6 hours." Jack nodded. "And if anything goes wrong?" Susan gave a small smile. "We can be back behind the barrier in less time than that. The Independence is faster than anything the aliens have ever seen." The meeting point was an abandoned space station at the edge of what had once been human space. Before Earth's isolation, it had served as a trading post. Now it drifted empty, a symbol of what had been lost. As the Independence approached, they saw another ship already waiting. It was smaller than the human vessel, with elegant curved lines that marked it as Ardarian. "They came alone as promised," Susan noted, checking the sensors. "No weapons charged, shields at minimum." Jack took a deep breath. "Let's hope this goes better than our last diplomatic encounter." The human delegation boarded the station first, securing it and checking for any traps or surprises. They found none. When the Ardarians came aboard, led by Thela herself, the two groups met in what had once been the station's main trading floor. Thela's skin shifted to bright yellow, a sign of hope among her people. Director Russell, I speak for many worlds when I say we are grateful for this opportunity. Your departure showed us how broken the council system truly was. Jack kept his expression neutral. Why should Earth trust any aliens again? Thela's reply was simple. Because we were wrong and you were right. The old system treated your people as inferiors when you deserved to be treated as equals. Many of us see that now. Many, but not all, Jack noted. No, Thela admitted. The Veldari and their closest allies still believe they can force your return. They do not understand that the galaxy has changed forever. Jack nodded slowly. Earth is willing to listen to proposals for new relationships, but we will never again accept second-class status. We have proven we can thrive alone. We don't want Earth to return to the old system, Thela said. We want to build something new together as true partners. As they talked in Earth's presidential office, Diana Coleman faced a different kind of diplomacy. Chief of Intelligence Frank Peterson had arrived with troubling news. Madam President, we've intercepted communications indicating the Veldari are developing planet-killer weapons. They're becoming desperate as their empire crumbles. The President's expression remained calm, but her eyes hardened. Will these weapons pose any threat to Earth? Not with the barrier in place, Frank assured her. But many innocent worlds could suffer if the Veldari lash out in their final days of power. President Coleman looked out her window at the busy streets of Washington, D.C. Earth was safe behind its barrier, but could it stand by while others suffered? Contact Director Russell, she said finally. Tell him to discuss mutual defense with the Ardarians. It may be time for Earth to take a more active role in shaping the galaxy's future. 5 years after Earth disappeared behind its barrier, the galaxy had transformed. The old Galactic Council no longer existed in any meaningful way. In its place, new alliances formed and reformed as species sought stability in changing times. On this day, something unprecedented was about to happen. Earth was ready to emerge from isolation, but on its own terms. Karen Ellis stood on the observation deck of her research facility, watching as 50 ships prepared for their mission. Each was equipped with the latest version of her faster-than-light drive, allowing them to appear simultaneously at 50 different locations across the galaxy. Nervous? Asked Lavra Wright, who had joined her at the window. Karen smiled. A little. 5 years of work leading to this moment. Your drives changed everything, Lavra said. Without them, we'd still be dependent on alien technology. Below them, final preparations were underway. The ships would carry Earth's message to carefully selected worlds across the galaxy. Not a return to the old order, but an invitation to something new. The Terran Accords dot at the presidential residence in Washington, D.C. Diana Coleman prepared for her address to Earth's united government. Her 5 years as president had seen humanity grow and change in ways no one could have predicted when they first cut ties with the Council. The speech is ready, Madam President, said her aide. Diana nodded. And Director Russell's team? Already en route to Jupiter Station. The delegates from the invited species will begin arriving within hours. The President took a deep breath. Earth was about to rejoin the galactic community, but as a leader rather than a follower. The decision had not been easy, but after long debate, Earth's nations had agreed it was time. In orbit around Jupiter. The station that would host the first meeting of the Terran Accords had been completely rebuilt. Once a small research outpost, it was now a massive structure capable of accommodating representatives from 23 different species. Jack Russell walked through the main chamber, making final checks. The diplomatic team led by strategist Olivia Patel had spent months preparing for this day. Everything is perfect, Director, Olivia assured him. The environmental controls for each species are functioning correctly. Translation systems are online. Security is at maximum, Jack nodded. And the Veldari? Olivia's expression hardened slightly. As instructed, they were not invited. The once mighty Veldari Empire was now a shadow of its former self. Civil war had broken out on their homeworld as resources dwindled. Their colonies had declared independence one by one. The species that had dominated the galaxy for thousands of years now struggled simply to survive. The first alien ship to arrive at Jupiter Station belonged to the Ardarians. Thala herself emerged, her skin shifting to bright colors of excitement as she took in the human-built station. "Director Russell," she said, greeting Jack with the traditional six-fingered gesture of her people. "You have created something remarkable." "Here, this is just the beginning," Jack replied. "Wait until you see what else we've been working on." Over the next several hours, ships from 22 other species arrived. Some had been minor members of the old council. Others had never been allowed to join at all, deemed too primitive or unimportant by the Veldari and their allies. On Earth, Diana Coleman stood before the global assembly and the cameras that would carry her words to every human settlement from Mercury to the moons of Neptune. 5 years ago, we made a choice to stand alone rather than accept second-class status in the galaxy, she began. That choice was not made lightly, nor was it made out of fear or anger. It was made because we believed humanity deserved better, and because we knew we could create better. Screens around her showed images of the new cities on Mars, the underwater habitats on Europa, the research stations orbiting distant planets. In our isolation, we have not merely survived, we have thrived. We have built technologies the Council claimed were impossible. We have expanded our presence in the solar system beyond what they ever would have allowed. We have proven, beyond any doubt, that humanity needs no one's permission to reach for the stars. She paused, looking directly into the cameras. Today, we choose to emerge from behind our barrier. Not because we need the galaxy, but because parts of the galaxy have shown they are ready for a new kind of relationship, one based on mutual respect and cooperation rather than dominance and control. Back at Jupiter Station, the delegates had gathered in the main chamber. A large screen showed the president's speech live. The aliens watched with various expressions of interest, respect, and in some cases, barely concealed awe. "The Terran Accords are not a return to the old council," Diana continued. "They are a new beginning. A partnership of equals dedicated to fair trade, shared knowledge, and mutual defense. Those who wish to join us must accept these principles without reservation." As she spoke, the 50 ships Karen Ellis had watched depart now arrived at their destinations across the galaxy. At precisely the same moment, they appeared above 50 different worlds, a demonstration of Earth's new technological capabilities that no one could ignore on the Veldari homeworld. Panicked officials watched as a human vessel simply appeared in orbit, bypassing all their defensive systems. The ship broadcast the president's speech on all frequencies, then vanished before they could respond. In the ruins of the old council chamber on Xandar Prime, a lone Veldari attendant swept the dusty floor. The once grand room was abandoned. Now, the few remaining council members having fled months ago as resources became too scarce to maintain the building, a small screen on the wall, normally used for announcements, suddenly activated. The attendant stopped sweeping and watched as President Coleman's face appeared, delivering her message about the Terran Accords. He had never seen a human in person, but he had heard stories about the species that had brought down the mighty Council simply by leaving at Jupiter Station. The president's speech ended to applause from the Earth delegation. The alien representatives remained silent, processing what they had heard. Thala was the first to speak. "Earth offers a new vision for galactic cooperation. The Ardarians accept the principles of the Terran Accords and pledge our support." One by one, the other delegates stood to signal their agreement. By the end, all 23 had accepted the invitation to join Earth's new alliance. Jack Russell watched with satisfaction. 5 years ago, he had walked out of the council chamber after being laughed at and dismissed. Now he stood at the center of a new galactic order with Earth at its heart. As the formal proceedings ended and the delegates began to mingle, Jack's assistant approached with an urgent message. "Director, we've received a transmission from the Veldari homeworld. Paul Martinez said quietly. Their government is requesting emergency assistance. Civil war has broken out in their capital city. They're asking for refugee transport for civilians. Caught in the fighting, Jack raised an eyebrow. The Veldari are asking us for help? Yes, sir. Their message says they have nowhere else to turn. Jack thought for a moment. The Veldari had been Earth's most vocal opponents. They had tried repeatedly to breach the barrier. They had treated humans as inferiors for decades. Tell them we'll send transport ships immediately, Jack said finally. Priority for children, the elderly, and medical cases. Paul looked surprised. Even them? Especially them, Jack answered. That's the difference between their way and ours. As Jupiter Station orbited the giant planet, the delegates from 23 worlds began the work of building a new galactic community. On Earth, factories that had once produced defensive systems now began creating humanitarian supplies for worlds in need. The barrier that had protected Earth for 5 years remained in place, but now it had doors that could open selectively. No longer just a shield of isolation, it had become a gateway of opportunity not just for humanity, but for a galaxy learning to exist without the corruption and hierarchy of the Council that had defined it for millennia. In her office on Earth, President Coleman received the reports of the successful launch of the Terran Accords. Outside her window, children played in a park, unaware that today marked the beginning of a new era. Humanity had gone from the newcomers, the less evolved species that needed guidance, to the leaders of a galactic renaissance, and it had all started with a simple decision to walk away and build something better.